Welcome to the Real Faith Podcast with me, your host, Chris Goins, a podcast featuring real talk with real people about God, theology, and life. Our goal, authentic, vulnerable, and raw conversations on a variety of topics with a view towards looking at what God's Word has to say. These conversations will help you apply your faith in God's Word to the real challenges of life. With that, let's jump into today's episode. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of the Real Faith Podcast. I say this regularly, but make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and do us a huge favor, rate and review, especially if you want to drop one of those 5-star reviews on us. It helps us get the word out, and we really want to add value to the lives of people. You will want to definitely share today's episode, because I'm joined in the studio by my longtime close friend, Carol Lange. Carol, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's such an honor to have you. Let me tell you a bit about Carol. She's one of the lead team members at Signature Homes, and Signature Homes is one of the most prolific home builders in the state of Alabama. They actually build in the greater Birmingham area, and now they've acquired Nashville, and they're building in Nashville. And between Birmingham and Nash Vegas this year, they will build right at 600 homes. Carol, you're busy.
Yeah, we're very busy right now.
And you're really involved in the Nashville area as well. I know you travel up there regularly.
Yeah, we are trying to grow. I mean, Nashville's market's great up there, so we're trying to acquire more land and get more, opportunity to continue to build and keep moving.
So my wife and you have a very close and long-standing relationship. And when we were brainstorming about subjects to talk about, we thought about this subject of women in business. And you, at a very young age, and I say that respectfully, you are one of the most successful women in business that we know. And thankfully, we get to know quite a few people, not only in Birmingham, but throughout the United States, and you've really had, I wouldn't call it a meteoric rise, like all of a sudden, but I would say it's been this steady, really, really intentional climb so that you lead at a very high level. As we start this interview, could you give us a snapshot and an overview of how you got started in business? We'd love to hear a piece of the Carol Lange story. Wherever you want to start.
Sure. So what's funny about all of this is from a very young age, at 14, I learned to play the guitar. I went to college. I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to be a country singer. We actually had a band in college, and we had, a decent following, for a while, and it was fun. But I had graduated, and I was still playing with them. And we were traveling just in the Southeast. We were just a cover band, but the guys in the band thought they were Aerosmith all of a sudden. And, so I kind of realized, I'm like, this just, I need to do something more sustainable and, predictable. So anyway, my dad, he's the one, he started Signature. And when I graduated, the economy wasn't great. But he said, just come, work here for a bit, give it a try, see if you like it. So I was like, okay. And I knew I didn't want anything to do with, building or anything like that. But interesting enough, what happens, we were all younger at the time. We had all just graduated college. So I will say the culture is what we kind of grew up together. So that's how I got started at Signature.
What time period was that?
Right after college. So 2003.
Okay.
Probably about, yeah. So anyways, I just grew to like it more, and I knew I wanted more. I remember talking, to Dad and Jonathan, the president, one time. I'm like, hey, I want to sit in those manager meetings, one day. Wow. And they're like, well, just keep doing what you're doing. So I've got to say my dad's been a huge mentor. He's helped a lot with growth, but also just reading books and being persistent. I just always knew I wanted to do more. And if I ever had the opportunity to lead, I'd love to do it. So
yeah. So I hope we get a chance to talk about your dad. He's an exceptional leader in the Birmingham area. Dwight Sandlin, founded Signature Homes, continues to lead it. The president, Jonathan Belcher, is another top-level leader. So you're surrounded by leaders, and through this experience, you yourself have become a part of that lead team as well there at Signature.
I have.
Let's talk about this. At what point, and we didn't even talk about this when we went through the questions earlier, but we should say it because it's such a vibrant part of your life. When did you meet Andy Lange?
Oh, gosh. I met Andy in high school, actually. Yeah. So it was funny. We ran in the same circle, and all of our little friends like had a crush on him at one point. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to have a crush on him. And I got a crush on him. So anyways, but yeah, that was a long time ago. But
did you and Andy marry after you began work at Signature?
Right after. Yeah. So we both graduated college, and as soon as we graduated college, we got married that August.
Yeah. And today you have 2 children.
We do.
Drew is how old?
Drew's 12, and he's just in middle school, and then Kate's 9, and she's in 4th grade.
Yeah, your kids are beautiful.
Thank you.
So you began working at Signature about 17 years ago.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And over those years, there has been this steady, again, and very intentional rise to more and more leadership being placed upon you. Today, you're responsible for a variety of things at Signature. Can you give us a picture of basically your areas of responsibility there?
Yeah, so basically anything and everything that has to do with customer service. So as soon as that customer signs the contract, to when they do their design appointment, to when they do their frame review, when they close, and then after close, it's just that whole experience, making sure that they get that experience. And for us, we do a good job, I think, in the experience. And we're not perfect, obviously we're not perfect, but our referral rate's probably 50 to 60%, which is huge because the national average is like 7 to 10. So we take customer service extremely serious, and always, do the right thing is what we always say. Can
you help us with that? So nationally, customer service retention rates are about 7 to 10% in home building?
Correct. So and with a referral, if someone walks through the door and they know who we are and they know our reputation, it's an easier sell for us as well. So it's a win-win, on both sides.
And you're between 50 and 60%.
We're between 50 and 60%. Some neighborhoods are 80% referral.
That's a huge swing from the national.
Sure.
Talk to us about some of the things that you've been able to institute that have led to that kind of satisfaction among your customer base.
To be honest, the first is the people. You hire, you get the right people. And I will say we have the right people, the people that care, that know we're always going to do the right thing. But also, toe the line too as well. But we really give our customers an experience. And overall, as soon as they write the contract, we just implemented this new software system where they can go online and look at their plans, 3D, and look at the exterior color palettes, and then make their selections on the interior part. But then also we communicate with them. We have a part that I don't know of any other builder that does, but we have one person dedicated that communicates with them, that designer, throughout the entire build. So we'll call them with the builder, give them updates, just communicate as much as possible is what we try.
And I know from meeting with you, that system is very thought through, very thorough from point A to point Z. You really have worked hard to establish a scope and sequence, a clear process.
You said it, process. And that's what we always say is, what does our process say? What's our process? We always go back. It's kind of like Nick Saban, but that's one thing you'll hear in our company a lot. What does our process say? What is, and typically when we mess up, it's because we didn't follow process.
Wow. One of the things that you said has led to that huge referral rate, those numbers that are so diametrically different than the national average, are your team members. One of your areas of responsibility is building culture.
Yes, culture, I'll be honest, for me, from the heart, is one of the biggest things that I enjoy about the company that we work for. I can't say it enough, but the people that we have there, they're awesome, great people, and they're people that you want to hang out with. And I'm an introvert, so I don't like hanging out with anybody, but I enjoy hanging out with them. But we've all got the same goal in mind, and customer focused, and it's just I love culture. I love people. And we're lucky. We really got.
Can you give us some insight as to 2 or 3 things that you've done that have helped to establish this culture that has become so attractive in bringing those kinds of referral rates?
Sure. So one thing we do, I don't know if you've heard of the Culture Index. It is a assessment tool that we use, and it's so each different, say if you have builder, if you have design, if you have sales, there are usually 3 different personality types with that. So you have a culture index, and before we even interview somebody, they'll take that index, so we'll kind of know, well, okay, they're really strong in detail, so that's great, but they really don't like people, so they probably don't want to do sales, So that's kind of how we narrow down to, okay, a good fit. But then, from a culture standpoint, we've got a girl, we were at Whitney, and she's basically over culture in a sense. And so she's responsible for making sure that we have the team gatherings together, which is this year's been different. Obviously, we haven't been able to go to Topgolf and stuff like that. But the idea is just to keep everybody engaged, with that. And then another big part, too, with us that from a culture standpoint is Dwight and Jonathan did sell to the company. Meaning we're an Esop now. And so what's awesome about that is they didn't sell to a competitor that would have come in and completely reworked our structure and changed everything and made it more bottom line. With the Esop, we're all now engaged of how can we together make more money, but do it, in the right way. So it's pretty cool to see how that works.
So can you explain what an Esop is for those who may not be familiar with that terminology?
Sure. So an Esop basically means that it's an employee stock. So we all own stock in the company. So when Dwight and Jonathan sold, they sold to us ultimately, And so now we have to pay our debt off to them, which will take a few years. But, once we do, it's, and the company's doing as well as it is for all of us, it can be a great retirement plan that it'd be hard to find somewhere else. So
that's
cool.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So I've heard you say a few things in regards to building culture. And because culture is critical, I want to drill down into that. Hiring is essential.
Yes.
What are you looking for in the hires that you bring on at Signature? A young adult even asked me this question. This young adult is one of our interns, and she said, what advice would she give a young individual, a young adult, young woman or man who's beginning their career, and what are they looking for when they hire someone at Signature?
I would probably use the word grit. That's something that someone that's hungry. In the book,
Angela Duckworth's book, Grit.
It's grit, yes.
Yeah.
And just someone that we know is hungry. What's crazy is we'll look at resume, and that's okay. But in the interview, and I know interviews can be tough, but basically I can usually tell, because I'll be honest, when I interview somebody, I try and talk them out of the job, because it is a hard place to work, because we measure everything. Everything's measured, and so you gotta, and two, if you come in and you don't play, well, if you don't pull your weight, that team's they'll choke you out, pretty quick.
Wow.
So, but anyways, when I have a true conversation with someone and I notice that's not going to scare them off, and they're like, oh no, I like it. I'm like, all right, let's give it a shot. Let's give it a try. Wow. And so I don't know if that answers.
Yeah, that does answer. One of the questions I was going to ask, but I think you've answered it, is does character trump competence in that hiring process? It sounds like character is essential.
Absolutely.
Because that's a big part of grit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like I said, if there's someone that doesn't, from a character standpoint, what I like about what's so cool is the team will choke them out. Like they'll be like, we don't want you. Like, get off our team. We want somebody else.
So the team is fierce about protecting that kind of culture.
Sure.
So you've mentioned your hiring process is critical. Mm-hmm. Your culture is valued. Yes. You guys work hard to maintain that through measuring so many things related to it.
Correct.
Also, you're constantly bringing the team together to celebrate, to build that continuity and community. Celebrating wins. I mean, we're in the middle. We don't even know if it's the middle.
Right.
But we're 8 months into a pandemic. And I remember when things began, there were all kinds of predictions about what would happen in the third and fourth quarter, particularly related to your field.
Right.
And yet you guys, you'll end up selling more homes this year?
We will. And what is crazy is when this first happened, we were all freaking out, all of us. And even myself, like a mom with 2 kids and schools canceled. And it's like, all right, we got to how we work from home. And we used to never work from home there. But, it's like we were nervous, and then what's going to happen? Prepare for the, for the worst, hope for the best, prepare for the worst is what I will say we do a good job of. But yeah, what's crazy is, things kind of got back on track, and it was May of this year we wrote over 100 contracts in 1 month. In the history of the 21 years of the company, we've never done that before.
Wow.
So our backlog right now is over 400. It's the biggest backlog we've ever had. So if you come in today and write a contract in several neighborhoods, I can't get you closed till July of next year. So it's a great problem to have, but,
Yay.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That I love to hear stories of success, particularly during this time, because, and when we talk about this, we have to keep in mind Signature employees right at about, is it 130?
About 130. Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't include all the subs that get work.
Oh gosh, that would be probably about 1,000.
So there's hundreds and hundreds of regular, hardworking families affected by just this company, this organization that through this great leadership is literally thriving.
It is.
Yay.
It is.
So let's talk a little bit. And you may have already answered this, so pardon me if it's redundant. What do you enjoy most about what you do as a businesswoman?
Gosh. I don't want to sound redundant, but it's the people. I love going to work. I love getting to work with who I work with. I love challenges. I love challenges. Anytime there's a problem, it's what can we do to solve it? So I don't know. That's weird that I like that, but I do. Sometimes I thrive in chaos. I don't know why, but it's kind of fun to me. So
I remember one occasion you and I have got to work together on a couple of occasions where you brought me in to do some John Maxwell coaching with a team.
Yeah.
And I remember one team, we will not say locations or names out loud, but you asked me to do something and you said it's a mess.
Yep. It was a mess.
And we went out there, and it was a great experience. And your patience and leadership and love for a team that had just reached an impasse for some reason, and your commitment to getting it right. It's just gripping and inspiring to me. So thanks for what you do. Do you enjoy the customer side of it too? The people that you work with?
Mostly. And if you look at me, like I said, I am an introvert. So there are times when I have to turn it on at work because typically if I talk to a customer, something bad's happened and they're pretty upset. So we're going to have to work out, some problems. Okay. So it doesn't happen often, but it happens. But I will say I'm the kind of person that when I do get home, with the kids and Andy, I sit on the couch. I'm just like I just don't want to talk. just give me a minute.
A few minutes.
I got to charge. Yeah. So.
Let's talk about that since you just raised that. You're married to Andy Lange. Mm-hmm. Andy himself is a home builder.
He is.
He builds, if I say designer homes, would that be correct?
Yeah, more custom remodel. Yeah, he's bigger.
So much smaller operation than Signature Homes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then you have 2 children,
right?
A 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. Let's talk about this myth that's perpetrated sometimes, particularly. This is the Real Faith Podcast, so many of our listeners happen to be Christian, and sometimes there's a myth that's particularly perpetrated among Christians that you can't be a loving, faithful, God-honoring wife and mother and also be a highly functioning professional career woman. Can you kind of talk about how you've been able to balance career, family, marriage over these 17 years?
Sure. I mean, and it's totally possible. It's 100% possible. I'll be honest, I got to give a lot of credit to Andy. Andy helps out just as much. He doesn't put everything, it doesn't always fall on me. Like Andy's great to help get him to school in the morning and then I'll help pick him up or, we take turns on if a kid's sick or whatnot. So I'll be honest, a lot of the key to that has been Andy. He's a great guy, a great husband, great dad. So I'm able to juggle that, the home, a lot. And then at work, there are times when you got a sick kid, you got to work from home. But it is. I do love working. I do love what I do, but family still comes first. So no matter what, if I got a sick kid or whatnot, then that's who we focus on.
So you've kept marriage and family as a priority.
Sure.
You just said that comes first. And it also sounds like you and Andy, you and your spouse, view this very much. And when I say partnership, that word coming off my tongue sounds a little dumbed down for what it is. It really is truly marriage. It's covenant where both of you are not just giving 50% each. Oh. You're giving like all of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And if a kid's sick, we just look at each other. It's like, what do you have today? What do you have today? And I'm like, okay. And then we go like, all right, I can reschedule that, or okay, well, I got it.
And you work that out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How important has your faith been to you in navigating your career as a professional and as a wife and mom?
100%. And, the time I have control issues sometimes. I feel like I want to be in control and do things. And I learn real quick when I'm not dependent on God, He's the one in control, that's when I'll fluster the most. I'm like, oh, duh, I can't do this on my own. I can't, I need Him. So those are some lessons I've definitely learned. I can tell when things are hard or whatnot, and I'm trying to control it. As soon as I give it to Him, it all seems to work out.
So faith has actually been a stabilizing thing in your life, your career, your marriage, all aspects of that.
Yes.
I want us to learn from you. So can we talk about this? I know, and I ask you for permission to share this question. I don't want anyone in the audience to think it's a gotcha question. Because we want to learn, can you share about your worst moment as a business leader? Maybe describe your greatest failure, what you learned from it, how you recovered from it.
So many failures. So many failures, but so much learned from each one. Probably the biggest one, I was way younger. I was managing, and I thought I was this big bad manager, right? And I had this one girl that was working for me, and I had no clue the hours she was putting in. And I had no clue. And she was the kind that she wasn't going to complain. But that's when I realized real quick, metrics are important, making sure to talk to your people all the time is important, because she ended up quitting. Wow. And we're still friends, but I totally blew that one. And she was good. She was really good. But I completely mismanaged, and I didn't see the writing on the wall.
So you were inattentive as a manager?
Absolutely.
What do you do to recover from that and to make sure you don't repeat those same mistakes in the future?
I have metrics to this day that are in place at this point, so I can tell you how much a load a person can take, all of that, and we look at it. I look at it with those managers every week.
So you mentioned you measure everything at Signature.
Absolutely, everything.
So evidently, after that learning experience, losing what was a great hire, great employee that you just had somehow become inattentive to or unaware of, you established a system of metrics so that you're constantly engaging with those managers,
correct,
finding out how they're doing personally, what their workload is like.
Yes, a big thing that we do too are the one-on-ones. And so, I'll do them with a few folks, and then our managers will have one-on-ones with their people. And it's good because you can learn where they are, not only talk about where they are, with work, but just, personally, how they're doing. Because, a lot of times too, people can be going through some personal things, and that's going to affect you at work. And at that point, you got to learn when to give grace, with things like that. Because we're all humans and we all go through stuff.
What has it been like? I didn't even rehearse this with you. But I know your dad. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. So intimidating to me. Whenever I go to see him, I know he'll have 40 questions. Yes. And I know that I will feel so vulnerable by the end of those questions. It's so intimidating. What has it been like to work for your dad?
Mostly positive, I'll be honest. I've learned he has been one of my biggest mentors, if not the biggest mentor I've ever had. But at the same time, too, people don't typically believe it. It's harder because he always has put. We're at a better time now, but when I was younger, he would, he'd wear me out if I missed something or whatnot. But I know it's because I am his daughter, and he didn't want to look like he was giving favoritism or anything like that. So I appreciate what he did. But
Yeah.
Can he still be hard to work with? Absolutely. I mean,
Even
absolutely.
after 17
oh my
years.
gosh. Just last week. I can give you a few examples. But yeah, and that's what I do love about him. But what makes it hard is it's never good enough. Like even with this huge backlog we got right now, it's, well, we're still missing it. We're still missing closings here. We're not hitting this here. Like you're never going to be good enough with him. But that's how we got to where we are today.
Yeah.
Is from him being like that and just constantly pushing.
You mentioned the recent Esop. Before that, Signature was a privately owned company. So your dad can really hire who he wants to. And he could have hired his daughter, regardless of her qualifications, credentials, competence, any number of things. But knowing Dwight, even before I knew you, I knew him, I cannot imagine nepotism or favoritism being something that he would allow. He is just so driven by those numbers and those realities. Is that a fair assessment?
It's a fair, and I'll be honest, and this was one of my most proudest moments ever. But there's a girl I work with, and she was talking. There's some other family that anyways, she was talking, and she said about something, and then she forgot who my dad was. We were having this conversation. She went, "Oh my gosh, I forgot he's even your dad." And I'm like, "Hallelujah!" It was I'm like, "Yes!" That's what we want. So.
Was that really important in you achieving? Because you're not only respected at Signature, you're involved in some educational things outside Signature, some learning activities that you engage in, and you're respected. Those circles of influence have opened up. Was that environment that your dad created with, "Hey, I love you. You are my daughter, but you're going to have to earn it"?
Oh, gosh, yes.
Was that critical to who you became as a woman?
Absolutely. And even now, it's funny, when new hires will come in, I'll meet them, and someone's always like, "Yeah, that's Dwight's daughter." I'm like, "Oh." I'm Carol.
Yes.
I don't have to, but yeah, it just comes with the territory.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about unique challenges that you're a leader in a field that is historically dominated by men.
Right.
And of course, I grew up on a construction site. My dad did HVAC work all of my growing up years. So I've been to those sites that are dominated by men, very few women there. And yet you function, and being around a few of your teams, you're respected by both men and women alike. What are some of the unique challenges you faced as a woman in business, or have you faced those challenges?
I mean, I try to not get wrapped around all that male. That's just me. I'm just like, just do your job. I will say sometimes in the construction field, when I was in the field more, I would give an answer to a question that a customer would ask, and the builder would give the same answer, and they're going to take the builder's word for it. And that's fine, But what I learned to do with that is hey, just talk to him and let him tell you, So, I mean, it's whatever,
So you've not allowed that to play a significant portion in your life?
I really haven't, no.
Would we be better off if we approach business like that of, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do my job, I'm going to perform at such a high level that whether my gender becomes basically not an issue?
No, it's not. And I remember, because one of I'm in a group called Vistage, and that's predominantly business, different business leaders in Birmingham. And I tell you, I love all those guys, but for the longest time, I was the only girl in that group. And I mean, I'm just like, hey, it's quality, not quantity. No, I'm kidding. No, but it's just, just learn from who you're around. But I really don't think much different about that.
You mentioned that this is a high pressure job. So let's talk about the unique challenges you face as a Christian. Who not only represents the company, but now you carry this responsibility of, I represent Christ.
Right.
How have you navigated that?
I will say, fortunately, predominantly at our company, it's mostly Christian. So that is something. But I mean, I'll be honest, there's days when I didn't do God well because of the way I behaved or whatnot. So, I just try in the morning to get right. When I get to work too, I have a devotion that Lisa
Turkhurst? Yes.
I like her, but she's got a devotional book that I'll just kind of read before and just be like, okay, let's get right and do this.
So one of the things I've noticed about really successful people is that the majority of them, so many, have a morning routine that sets them up for success. And you just alluded a bit to yours. Do you have a morning routine that you really do believe sets you up for success as a wife, a mother, a businesswoman, a believer?
Sure. Well, it's funny. Andy started working out back this summer, and he gets up at 4. And I'm the kind of person, when the alarm goes off, I'm kind of up too. So he gets up and he leaves. And I'll be honest, I don't think I'm lazy, but I'll kind of lay in bed and I'm like, I just kind of talk to God. I'm like, all right, here's what we got today. Let's, pray over your church, everything, and then get out of bed, do the typical shower, brush teeth, all that stuff. But then usually in the car, I live in Chelsea and work at Ross Bridge, so it's about a 30-minute commute, 35-minute. So I'll listen to a podcast. I do drive fast. You can ask Andy. I've already burned through some tires, but yes, I do like to listen to just in the morning audible, typically.
And you mentioned when you get to the office, you do a devotional.
Just a 5-minute, if that, just real quick devotional.
And is this just a time to settle your spirit, to focus your attention and energy?
It is, and I get to work early too. I usually get there a little before 7, and there's not a lot of people in the office, so it's just kind of a quiet time before everything picks up. Yeah, and a bunch of people come by the door. Hey, what you doing?
Because I know you, I know that growth is a big part of your life. What have you done to keep growing as a woman? You went to the University of Alabama, finished school there, got out, married, got started in business.
Right.
But what have you done to keep growing over these years?
I think, like I told you, Vistage is a lot. There's a lot of different speakers, great speakers that I get to hear once a month that will come. And I've been in Vistage 7-8 years now, and I've got like a stack of just every speaker that came through, what I can get from that speaker, so that's been a really big part. And then also for me, a turning point, I read the 15 Laws of Growth with John Maxwell. I think I've read, I don't know, the cover's about torn off now, but anytime anybody comes to me and they're like, hey, I want to grow or do more, I'm like, let's read this book together. Let's sit down, let's read this book together. And it's cool to see, like, because there's the law of the rubber band, and it's true. Like, if you're going to grow, it's going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're going to be stretched.
I had a conversation with someone about that the other day, and they're like, well, I just don't know if I can do this. I'm like, it's just, you're uncomfortable, but you'll figure it out.
And I know you've been through a variety of other John Maxwell books as well. That's a big influence on your life.
I do like him a lot.
And you guys do growth opportunities from time to time for team members there.
We do.
As well. Let me ask you this. When it comes to your business, the Signature Homes, what you're doing today, what are you most excited about?
Gosh, the opportunity that we've got in front of us with we're aggressively getting land. We've got another deal that we're working on in Hoover that could be another potential 1,300 lots that we've got. So we're just the potential of what's coming down the road, and hoping that, we predict interest rates will remain where they are for the next few years at least.
Wow.
And so we've just got a lot of opportunity to just pound it out and build some houses and just keep growing. So I'm super excited about 2021. We'll get a virus or flu or vaccine one day, but I'm excited to see where we're going. I think we've got a lot of opportunity in front of us.
Wow. Has that been, and when I say that, the low interest rates, has that been a really stabilizing factor for the home industry?
Oh my gosh, yes.
In spite of COVID
Absolutely.
And what it has done to our culture?
Absolutely, it has. And that's, Dwight and Jonathan are in different builder groups as well. That's Colorado, just all over the nation, and they're seeing the same thing. Honestly, right now we're seeing shortages in our vendors because it surged, the housing market surged, so we're trying to get vendors. And now with COVID too, there's delays now we're seeing in windows, appliances, because, these factories were shut down, and then they were opened back up. So there's new challenges now that we're seeing that we never dealt with before. But again, we'll overcome them. We'll figure it out. So it's exciting.
Is that a mantra? Figure it out?
I guess so. Because we just do. I don't know.
Yeah. I remember meeting with Dwight in 2008 before the crash. And he saw that crash coming.
He did.
He saw it. He knew it was going to happen. He had actually already leveraged Signature Homes to get through that crash. I mean, he had taken precautions so that you all weren't overextended and what have you, and saw that. And I was wondering what his take was on what's happening now.
Sure.
And you guys feel like the home market is good for the foreseeable future.
We do, and specifically that question was asked to him is how is this different than '08? Because we're seeing this huge boom. And the biggest difference is this, is in '08 there was so many houses already on the ground because everybody was getting into real estate. Everybody was buying real estate. You could get a 100% or 105% mortgage loan, just so easy. You could get loans. And so what happened is there were so many houses when the bubble hit, we had all this inventory and couldn't sell it. So today we don't have the inventory that we did in '08.
Wow.
So what happens is we're actually still short inventory of what's needed. So, and the mortgage companies are a lot smarter and they're not giving loans to just, any Joe Blow that's going to walk in. So we're lined up very well and because I asked him, do you see a crash? And he was like, no, there's too much, we don't have the inventory we had before.
Wow.
Yeah.
Few closing questions, Carol. Hey, it has been so fun to talk to you. It's been fast. Your speed has actually sped me up in the question process. Who inspires you? Whose success story just motivates you to go out there and give it your all?
This is going to sound cheesy, but I'll be honest, my dad. Like it really, just seeing, he came, he was a framer, and just to see what he created with this company and what he's grown it to now, and then just all the little tidbits of advice I get from him still to this day.
Wow.
I don't know. He's a pretty cool dude.
Do you have a favorite passage of scripture that gives you strength and stability?
My grandmother always said it, but the devil is out to steal, kill, and destroy. So always be prepared, that's just what I'm like, just know he's always out there, and just, you got to be prepared and don't just face it head on.
John 10:10, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But the good news is I've come that you might have life.
Absolutely.
Have it to the
I'm not
full.
leaving that part off.
Hey, Carol, is there a way people can connect with you? Are you on LinkedIn, any of these other platforms, social media platforms?
I think I'm on LinkedIn, but I don't know what my password is. I haven't been on there for years.
So you don't check it very often?
I probably need to. I'll try and get that updated before.
Well, you don't have to do that if you're not there. I was just going to say if people could follow you or find you.
Yeah, sure. Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah, okay, find her there. We'll close with this one, Carol. This is the Real Faith Podcast. And by the way, you're one of my wife's favorite people.
Oh, I love your wife.
She loves the realness and vulnerability with which you will communicate with her. And often, I wouldn't say often, but every once in a while we're sitting there and she'll say, listen to this, Carol just texted me.
There's no telling what I said.
And it will always be something that's so raw and real, and it's good. But we so love you.
Oh, we love you.
And Andy and the kids and what God has done. You have a nonprofit where we've actually participated with you to help those less fortunate, either building a home, rebuilding a home, remodeling a home, so many things like that. So because this is the Real Faith Podcast and you demonstrate that in so many ways, what's one thing you would challenge listeners to do this week to put their real faith into action?
I'll be honest, it's something that I mentioned before I struggle with, but just give it to God. Just give it to God. Don't try and do it yourself. I feel like he bangs me over the side of the head weekly with that. But he's in control and he's got you. So just give it to him and don't try and make it your own way.
Yeah. Knowing that you're one of these type A performance-driven people, I mean, you really want to check off every box. That process of surrendering to God, of giving it to God, it's got to be one of the most difficult things that you do.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And that's what you would challenge people, surrender
Absolutely.
Whatever that is to God. Well, it has been an honor to talk to you. If you're unaware of Signature Homes, look them up. What's your website address?
It's e-signaturehomes.com.
Yeah.
And that'll that'll take you right to us, and you can see who we are here in Birmingham and Nashville. So.
And you've got so many beautiful communities that you've established, and I'm blown away by all of them. The one that you built out here near Mountain Laurel.
Brock.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, we just closed that out 2 months ago.
Yeah, it filled me with, envy, and I had to do a lot of repenting when I went out there and looked at it.
It's pretty.
It's so beautiful. All of your communities are beautiful, but that has a quality to it that's so amazing. Thank you for what you do for Birmingham and now Nashville. Thank you for living your real faith. And here's what I'd like to do today. Carol, I want to pray that kind of prayer of surrender that you talked about, of giving it to God, for people who might be listening and like you, they're just out there, they're just really getting it done, whether it's their parenting, their marriage, their career, and you really challenged us. So would you sort of come into agreement with me as we pray for our audience today?
Absolutely.
Father, thank you for Carol, for Andy, for the kids. Thank you for Signature Homes, the difference that they've made in our community over many, many years. All the leaders, all the employees, all the subs that make hundreds of homes every year happen in Birmingham. The families whose lives are different because of that. And Carol has spoken right into the hearts of so many people who, like her, really want to make a difference, really want to succeed, really want to contribute to the bottom line of our world, but often they try to do it in their own energy. And I pray that they would be able to do what Carol challenged us to do today, and that is surrender it all to you. So we do that right now. We just surrender this day, this moment, this podcast episode to you, and we trust you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
Well, the rest of you, you've heard from Carol Lange today. Now you go out there and put your real faith into action. We'll be back next week. This has been the Real Faith Podcast with Chris Goins. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.